Hello friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. Today I'm going to be doing something pretty fun. It's going to be a little bit crafty. So I have been looking for like a cute little Valentine's Day backdrop for my kids to celebrate Valentine's Day. And I came across this blog post, and what this is, and it's I have seen this for a few years, and I've always been curious, like how in the world did she make this? So what this is, and I'll link the shop in the description of this video because you can buy it straight from Etsy. But this right here is one single strand of a streamer garland. So when you would buy it, it comes in like in a string, and it's all hanging. You would have to punch a whole bunch of holes in your walls or tape a whole bunch of tape into the shape of what is a heart. And then you hang it up and then trim the edges to where it goes into a point and it looks like a heart. The reason why I just didn't go ahead and purchase this or make just a streamer garland is because the idea of putting a whole bunch of holes in my walls for just one holiday sounds bananas to me. So I think I'm going to craft up a way to make my own and not have to use so many holes. So for this project though, because I'm going to be making the heart, I was going to do an off the mat cricut project, which I can show you how to do an off the mat. Super easy. We're just going to do a heart. Now, I know there are a lot of makers out there that make huge character cutouts. The basis of this tutorial will kind of teach you how to do the huge character cutouts and the off the mat projects. So this is kind of like a real quick, basic off the mat Cricut cut. So this is what we're going for. The final look, this is what we're going for. I'm going to show you all the materials that I have later, but let's do the Cricut design and cutting first. So then we can go to actually making our heart backdrop. First step is open up a blank window in Design Space. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller. I'm going to put myself down here. Okay, we are just going to go into the Shapes button right here, and we're going to do a heart. And I'm going to make this big. We're going to resize this here in a minute, but we're just going to make it big so we can see exactly what we're doing. And then I'm going to insert a shape, another shape, and do a square. It doesn't matter if it's rounded or not because we're not even going to use the corners. Then I'm going to go over here into the unlock button, and I'm just going to make this as larger than my heart. See how it's going to overhang? Okay, then I'm going to take my height, which is this, the up and down, the height. I'm going to change this to 0.01. So it's going to be super thin. And I'm going to select both of these. So pressing shift on your keyboard and selecting your square and your heart, and come over here into align and then center. Now what you want to do is just selecting both again. And we're going to go down here and press slice. Okay, so the top line, I'm going to delete that. See how there's nothing right here? So I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to also delete one more line, keeping one. Now I'm going to come over here into my 90-degree rotate, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, making sure that it's center. I am just going to use my arrow keys, and I'm going to go down just a little bit with that box. You want it to overhang on the bottom, so you're making sure that you get all, like it's sliced all together. So I'm going to unclick out of that, and you see how there's overhang here and overhang here. That's perfect. Now I'm going to select everything, the heart and that line, and I'm going to press slice again. So then now I'm just going to delete all the lines. And what you're going to be left with is this heart that has like 4 little cutouts. Clicking that heart, I'm going to press contour. And you see how now we have 4 different places, like 4 different shapes that we can click. That's exactly what we're looking for. So I am going to take this, I just clicked out of the contour button. I'm going to take this, scoot it over just a little bit, Command D or duplicate. And so now we're going to have 2 shapes. And going back over to the first one, I'm going to go back over into contour. And I'm going to select everything but that top left. And then I'm going to click out. And then here is that next shape that we duplicated, pressing contour. And now I'm going to select everything but that bottom left. Okay, because our heart is symmetrical, I don't need to do any other, I don't have to go onto the other side and do the others, because when we go ahead and cut this, I'm going to cut 2 of the top portion and 2 of the bottom portion, and then I'm just going to make sure and flip it over and tape them together later when I go to the assembly thing. But at least now we have our 2 main shapes that we need. So I'm going to resize this to fit my paper. The largest paper that I have is a 12 by 12. So inserting a shape, and I'm going to do another square, and I'm going to change this over to 11.5. Now, I did say that my paper is largest as 12 by 12, but the largest that, if you have a 12 by 12 paper, the largest that the Cricut can cut is an 11.5 by an 11.5 image. So here is 11.5 by 11.5 inch square. I'm going to change this over into a lighter color just so we can see what we're doing. And then go over here to arrange and then send to the back. Okay, selecting both the bottom portion and the top portion. We're going to resize this. You want to resize this together because we're going to have, we want both pieces to fit exactly perfect. So taking both of these pieces, and then I'm just going to resize this. We'll do the width at 11.5. So then this piece right here is 11.478, and it's shorter than the 11.5. And then this piece right here is shorter than the 11.5. So you just want to make sure that both your pieces are going to fit inside your 11.5 square. Okay, when you have that done, you can delete the pink box, your sizing box. You can delete that. And then we can come over here into Make It. And because I need 2 sets of this, you're going to come over here into Project Copies and do 2 and then press Apply. So now we're going to have 2 of the top pieces and 2 of the bottom pieces to cut. It honestly looks like I could probably get a second that second triangle in here. So I'm going to go into number 4 and I am going to click those 3 dots and I'm going to say Move Object. And I'm going to move it over to the third mat and press Confirm. And then this one, I'm going to drag it down. Do you see that little circle? Let's twist this around a little bit. Okay, there we go. And now you have your 2 bottom pieces on the same sheet. And look at that. So now you only have to cut 3 sheets of cardstock instead of 4. So you just saved yourself some money right here. This is like the quick and easy way to just nest our projects together. Okay, so you're going to want to go ahead and cut this. I'm going to use a thicker cardstock, one of my cardstocks that I offer in my shop. I'm just going to select any color. It doesn't matter because it's going to be our guide. And then come back to me and then we'll start assembling our heart-shaped backdrop. Okay, you should have your pieces of cardstock cut. I just used some brown. That's what I had extras laying around over. And you're gonna need some tape. I just have some painter's tape. You can use Scotch tape, whatever. If you're using this for like a character project, you know, for a finished, I'm only using this as a guide, but if you're using it for a character project, I would not suggest painter's tape. I would suggest like a clear tape for this. Okay, sliding this over, we are just going to work with the 2 pieces that we need. Here is our top of our heart and the bottom of our heart. So we have the 2 pieces. Now we'll just line this up to making that second piece. And now we have our heart, right? So just making sure that our 4 pieces all line up together. Okay, just taking the first 2. I'm gonna take a bit of tape. I'm gonna smush these in super tight and super close together. And then just take some tape around the edges. Okay, and then we're gonna go on to the next area. Lining them up super tight and just taking some tape down. And adding that 4th piece in there. This time you want to make sure that the top and the side are both really snug and into your paper. And we're just going to lay down that sheet. Okay, and this thing is sure ugly, very ugly. But if we turn this around, you should get something that has very tight seams on it. So that's exactly what you're looking for. This would be perfect for an off the mat character. Nice and tight seams. Okay, so now I picked up some of this latch hook canvas. This is like that stuff, to make like flower art, you know, back in like the 90s, that was like a huge thing. I don't know if it's coming back, but I got this just online. You can get them at the craft store as well. And it's kind of looks like fencing. It's very weird. So anyways, we're gonna take this and unfold it. Okay, I'm gonna cut this down to size just a little bit so it's easier to work with. And we're just gonna put away everything we do not need. Okay, I'm gonna make sure and flatten this out really good so we get a good trace of our outline. Okay, now I'm just gonna lay this on top. Nice and good. See? Do you see what we're doing here? Have you figured it out? Okay, taking a Sharpie, I'm just gonna, before I write all over my desk, I'm gonna make sure and put something down so I don't ruin my desk. Okay, taking a Sharpie, I'm just gonna trace this heart. Well, shoot. Going back up. I missed that little corner right there. We're gonna do it again. Realign this. Oh my goodness gracious. And let's go all the way over to the corner. Okay. Okay, now let's remove this. And you can probably, oh, you can see it really good on the camera, but this is the heart. I'm gonna have 2 lines on mine. It'll get covered up only because I misplaced that guide, but you can see it really well on the camera. Look at that. Okay, then taking your scissors again, and we're just gonna cut it out. For me, I'm needing to make sure that I'm cutting out the right line. Okay, and here is our finished heart cutout. Look at that thing, it is so cute. Okay, so all of this like blue and the black, that's all gonna get hidden eventually, but there is our little heart. So the next step of this project is gonna be the most time consuming, I think, of the entire project. I have a guillotine cutter. I would strongly suggest getting a guillotine cutter for this because the last thing you wanna do is hand cut all of the strips that you're going to need. I picked up 3 of each color. This is at the Dollar Tree, and I just picked 3 of these colors, pink, red, and then that iridescent color. I'm not gonna use a ton of the iridescent, but I am gonna focus mainly on the pink and the red with like hints of that. And we're gonna need to cut this up into strips. So starting with the first pack, here's my guillotine cutter. And we're gonna wanna create strips of fabric, essentially. Now, the longer strips that you create, the longer your backdrop or your fringe backdrop is going to be. Okay, because mine is a 12-inch cutter, I'm going to refold this into 12 inches so it will fit in my guillotine, because right now there's a guide right here and it won't cut that. Okay, I have it folded just a little bit, and I'm gonna just take this and I'm gonna slide it in, then I just cutting 1 sheet. See how there's just 1? I'm gonna unfold this. Okay, when we do this, we're gonna hang it in the half. So if you wanted it shorter, you could definitely cut it shorter. If you wanted to do like this and create 2 pieces, you could definitely do that. But I like the width of this streamer. So this seems to be about 1 inch thick. I'm not gonna focus too much about the width, making sure it's the same width all the way around. So I wanna have like a little bit of variance. So I'm just gonna focus more on getting some straight cuts and a bunch of them. Okay, here we go. Here's another one, and we're just gonna keep on going. Again, this is the most time consuming that you are going to do. I am going to do a full sheet of the pink, a full sheet of the red. Okay, all the red is done. Now let's do the iridescent. So this plastic table covering is made of a different material than this plastic one, and it is ripping really easy, like it's shredding. So what I'm doing for this is, again, I'm gonna fold this in half just so we have the least amount of friction with the blade. Yes. So then when you go ahead and cut this with your guillotine, because there's a little bit of flex in it, I'm gonna push it closest to the edge of my cutter and then slice down. And so you're gonna be able to get nicer, cleaner cuts, but then you're gonna have to move a lot slower just because that extra fold in there kind of makes the plastic hard to line back up again. So again, all I'm doing is I'm pushing to the left and going down. I didn't do that with the other plastic ones because I was not having a problem or an issue cutting. This stuff is just, it's like the weirdest material. It's so pretty, but it's so weird. So I'm only gonna do a little bit more of this stuff, only because I don't want a bunch of this. I only want a little bit, just for a little accent and highlight. And see what happens, like, I don't know. It's cutting terribly. Okay, done with that. Okay, taking our heart shape. You can do this one of two ways. I'm going to just take my pink and unwrap one of them. Okay, I'm gonna fold these in half and then I'm gonna cut them so they're just a little bit shorter. So again, you can do it one of two ways. You can take the corner, folding it in half like this. You can slip it through, creating like a loop. And then stuffing the ends in and pulling tight. Okay, we're gonna create a loop like that, and you can see now that it's like stuck on there like a kite. So I am not going to do it this way, only because when you pull it, the edges, because there is like sharp edges, see how my plastic now just kind of looks a little weird? So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna take my two pieces, cut them in half, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide it in. So now it's like that. And I'm not worried about it falling out, only because once you start adding it on there, it should lay flat and then nothing's gonna fall out. And when you pull on it, you see how nothing's moving? It's because it's snagged onto that plastic, so it's not going to move. And then you just wanna keep on going, just sliding it through. You kind of wanna do halfways. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's one of those tissue garlands, so we don't need to have it completely perfect. And for this, it doesn't matter if you go through the front or the back because it's all just going to lay down the same anyhow. It doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's starting to take a little bit of shape. Now we're just gonna keep on filling up our heart. Okay, so I'm almost done. I only have just a little bit left to go. I did have to cut additional strips, so I'm using now the 2 additional pinks and reds. I don't like the way that this is coming together. It is very fragile. This stuff rips so easily and it's just not laying as flat, so I have really put not a lot on here. See, like it's just not, this isn't cute. This iridescent, although cute idea and thought, is just a completely different material than the plastic tablecloths. And so it's not, I don't know. I wouldn't suggest getting that. So I have used now 2.5 of the full pink and red tablecloths. Also, the other thing that I have noticed is that it was going to take forever to fill this all in if you're going to do every single hole. So what I'm doing is I'm only focusing on the corners or the edges of the entire heart, and I'm going in like a sporadic motion. So like you can tell right here, there's like gaps in it, but when you lay it all down flat, you can't tell that I didn't fill in all the holes. So that's kind of the idea and thought, and it still looks really full when I hold this up. Now, what I have been doing is, see how there is like a pink right here in this hole? I'm not gonna put another pink right here or even a red. Like I'm not gonna put it on top of each other. I'm gonna stagger them so there's not like a whole bunch in one area. Oh, there's a lot of red right there. So and then the other thing too is that you definitely don't want to work in multiple rows. You want to stick to going run one row at a time, because then it starts to get really busy. So I'm working on just this row. So I'm only going to put in streamers or the strips in this row. And then we're doing edge to edge. So on every single line that I've done here, there is a streamer on all the edge pieces. When it comes to the middle portion, I am just sporadically filling this in So it's not super fluffy, but at least the edges are gonna look super clean and good. So I have one piece of the heart finished. You can see it's nice and full on this side, and then this side I still have to complete like a couple more rows. So in the inside of this, I missed spots, right? I didn't fill in all the way. However, when it comes to the very top, the top couple rows, I definitely filled in all the holes that were available just so I can make sure that I have a nice good form for the outside. All the rest of these little pieces right here that are hanging off, I'm just gonna take my scissors, and I'm not gonna cut the actual holes, but just trim those little extra pieces. Then kind of going around here and doing the same thing. You don't want to cut the holes, but just trimming up just the extras, so that way you don't have like a whole lot sticking out right here. When you hang this up, you should be able to fluff this up a little bit so you won't see the plastic, but you just want to make sure that you definitely trim up as close as possible to that holes. Okay, now moving on to the next side. Right now it just looks like a real fluffy tutu, just like laying here. When I hold it up, it looks like it is this shape, but right now it just looks like a mess. So I'm just filling in some additional little spaces because I want to make sure that the very top looks nice and full and has a form. Okay, and then this side's done now. Same thing as I did before. I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off these little extra pieces that don't have anything in there. I definitely want to make sure that it looks super cute. All right. And when I hold it up, you're not gonna be able to see it right now, but when I hold it up, it definitely looks like a heart. It's so cute. Okay, this is technically my back. I made sure to do a front and back. You can see how there's like little pulls on the back side. So this is gonna be the back. It's not as cute as the front. I think what I've decided to do on how I'm gonna hang this is I have a little bit of red string. I'm gonna cut a long piece of each, like one long piece, and break this in half. Okay, I am going to tie the string to the very top of one of these loops, and then cutting off that little tail, and then doing the same thing with the other side. I'm gonna take this string, I'm gonna go to the same, pretty much the same square, tying another knot. Then I'm going to be able to hang this up on the wall, kind of like a picture. So I'm going to use my nail, hang this up, and then it'll be like a picture, but with that, it's just going to be a red string, so it's all going to match. Okay, I'm going to hang this up, and then I'll show you how to get the cute little form. You know, I always think I look cute, and then I see myself from the back, and I'm like, whoa. So I hung up this heart fringe backdrop with a command hook, and then I just put this string over the top of it. So I kind of pushed the streamers down just a little bit. Don't drop the scissors onto your foot like I did and cut yourself. And then I just went in with some scissors and I like cut off the extra long pieces and then kind of reshaped it into a heart form. My husband seems to think that this heart looks really long and droopy. I actually like the way that it looks. So I guess at this point, it's just eyeballing it to whatever you think it looks good. Also, I went in and just cut off some pieces that got messed up during the cutting process with the guillotine. And I'm just cutting off the nasty ends, making sure that it all looks cute. I did take a step back and kind of looked at it. And I didn't really like the way that it was looking with the one command hook with the string. So I decided to grab a second command hook, untie my strings, and then just hook from one end to the other, and I actually ended up liking the way that it lays a little bit flatter onto the wall. So cute. I love the way this turned out. Oh my gosh. Oh, darling. And then eventually you get a really cute backdrop that you just love. All right, y'all. Happy crafting, and I will see you later.